Absolutely. Oh, it's with great gratitude and joy and a sense of celebration that I create this beautiful circle of light and call in Archangel Michael and Lady Faith to surround us, to surround all the lovely women and members of our academy joining to celebrate Sherry in her final project presentation and to learn more and to expand our base of wisdom and experience into this beautiful practice. So I am grateful for holding this whole session high and that the wisdom and the fun and the celebration begins as we salute Sherry in her great accomplishment with her practitioner training. So thank you so much. And with my heart filled with love and expectation and fun and celebration, I release this word to the law, knowing it's good, it's done, let's do this. And so it is, and so I allow it to be. Beloved I am, beloved we are.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. That was
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. So I want to introduce Sherry, although she's been a member of our community for over 6 years, I think. I think Alejandro and Sherry came right around the same time. And Sherry, let me tell you a little bit more about her because, we meet together in a certain way and it's always fun to go and see what somebody has really done. So Sherry listened to the voice calling for her to be a healer. And before this call, she spent close to 35 years as a clinical therapist in therapeutic foster care, working with children in foster care, their foster parents, and their biological families. I bet you didn't know that. She was born and raised in Michigan and attended University of Michigan as an undergraduate, getting her degrees in sociology with minors in psychology and African American studies, and a graduate degree in multi-ethnic counseling from that same university, the Michigan State University. She has always had the ability to connect with people with diverse backgrounds, volunteering with Junior Human Relations Board families in need of her community, including a couple of years at Michigan School for the Blind, sharing interactive recreational experiences with blind students, including Steve Land Morris, also known as Stevie Wonder.
Oh,
Sherry resisted the call to be a healer for a number of years. I guess we can all relate to that. She kept, but people kept telling her it was true, and with the message coming at her from all avenues, she began to believe in it. After years of praying for an opening and confirmation of her spiritual gift, she became a Reiki master teacher to to help her resolve her own emotional trauma, depression, anxiety, and bouts with suicidal ideation. She was drawn to a flower essence display at her health food store and began using them herself. Later, she began using flower essences with others in her psychotherapy practice. And now, over the past 2 years, gathering geological information, a history of depression has emerged with her grandmother, some of her grandmother's siblings, and it's helped Sherry to accept those symptoms in her mom. So, interest in the color healing led her, this is so fascinating, led her to the information about the seven rays
mm.
and Elizabeth Clare Prophet's work. And she kept a seven rays flyer for over 40 years before she came to the academy and took the Seven Sacred Flames course. Can you believe that? That's so cool. Coming into
Yeah.
this sacred circle of healers and teachers at the Angels of Abundance Ascension Academy has been a coming home for Sherry, having an opportunity of like-minded people to share this wonderful journey with. Sherry considers herself a lifelong healer and looks forward to following this path with other bases of knowledge she yearns to pursue, including channeling, vibrational healing with tuning forks, delving into the use of alchemy, and developing more tools for healing relationships, including Tantra practices, couples and family counseling with a twist, and more. So, without any more chatter from me, I'm going to pass this over to you, beloved Sherry, and congratulations. Here we are.
Yes. Well, I think where I want to start is to share a little bit about my process in putting this paper together because it was quite interesting. And Jennifer threw me some twists as I went along, and so that just added to the fun. But I knew that I was fairly well acquainted with Tantric practices in the 21st century, 20th and 21st century, but I didn't know too much about other historical groups, and especially the Assanes. And so a lot of the information that I turned up was really shocking to me. And I said, oh, this is why this stuff is important for us to know as Ascension practitioners, because of what I learned about Yeshua's history. And probably if Jennifer hadn't asked these questions, I never would have even gone there. And a person that she studied with, Catherine and Clement, was one of the main sources of information for me about the Assane practices, the Assanes, the Druids, the Magdalenes. They all practice Tantra. And so if I hadn't explored, some of the writings of Catherine and Clement and Claire Hartsong, I would have never known. So it was just an amazing journey, and I really had to depend on my beloved I Am Presence to take me to where I needed to go and to the resources that I needed to utilize in order to put this paper together. So, whenever I felt stuck or felt that I hit a stumbling block, I really had to call them in, and I had to trust that I was going to be provided an answer. And so this paper has really answered a prayer for me, because I was really feeling for a while somewhat disconnected from my beloved I Am Presence, and I was seeking a way to be closer, to feel that we were in communion, that we were in lockstep and stuff. Because for a while it felt to me like some of the things I was saying, I said, what is this renegade energy that is speaking through me? Or as soon as I open my mouth, it comes out, and it's like, oh, what? What did I just say? So this has been a fun and interesting journey. I had a few anxious moments, I have to confess, but it all turned out wonderfully. And so there you have it.
Congratulations. Yes, it did.
Thank you. So, and I have to say, when I started on this journey with reading Catherine and Clement and Claire Hartsong's books, I had absolutely no idea that it was going to lead to this discovery for me. I don't know, maybe some of you already knew this stuff, but that Yeshua had 3 wives, and they were all aspects of Mary Magdalene, who they refer to in their books as Mary of Bethany. And so he cultivated these relationships, which were not without difficulty, let me say, because it really talks in the book about how these women were having some feelings. They felt some way about him sharing a relationship with these 3 women. And they felt some way about each other, and they were disappointed. They had, experienced hurt and jealousy and all the emotions that you might normally expect people to feel who are in a multiple relationship, trying to, figure out how do we make this work. So, but Yeshua was very central to helping things flow because of the deep love that he had for them, and just for all of life, that just his presence was so enveloping of this love that it was almost instantly that the barriers began to drop, and the jealousy and the tension and the anger and the hurt, it just sort of melted away. And so just very, very, very powerful stuff. So I'm just grateful to have been a part of the process of learning this information, and I'm glad to be sharing it with you all. Does anybody know how to turn off notifications? I don't. And I'm what did I do? Okay. So anyway, I would welcome any comments that you had, anything that you found interesting or that struck you in a particular way.
I have a comment. I'm looking at Isis.
Thank you, Marjorie.
And I'm remembering and reading in the Sophia Code similar things to what you're describing. And so I guess this practice goes way back to then.
Sherry, you want to respond? Sherry, you there?
Yes, I am.
There
Did you hear me?
I think you froze for a moment.
Okay. Yeah, I thought Marjorie was still speaking, but I couldn't hear any more words, so I was waiting to see if she had anything else she wanted to say.
I was just thought maybe you could add it. I was noticing in your paper where it says symbols of tantric practice across the centuries.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was fascinating, who you mentioned, and then also Isis and Hathor and the masculine Pan, Krishna, Osiris, Shiva, Eros, and serpent rituals. I just thought that was fascinating. So this is something that's been practiced for centuries, and somehow we, in this particular time, unless we've had a interest or knew about it, I think I knew about it because of my yoga practice, wouldn't probably know about it. And then the way that the divine feminine is in our culture, and I think my opinion, of course. Go ahead. You want to make a comment?
Did we freeze again? I heard the divine feminine in our culture, and then
I just saying how it's coming alive again in books like
yes.
the Code and the books that you mentioned that Jennifer recommended to you. And then there's another book here that I read called Uncommon Bond, which talks about similar kinds of aspects of that. I guess I don't know if you want to make it.
I guess one thing I can say is that, yeah, I came to this particular teaching with a background in Egyptian cultures. Several groups that I belong to have studied Isis. They didn't call her Isis, that was a Greek name, but the Kemetic name, which is the ancient Egyptians, is Aset. Mm-hmm. So Aset and Hathor are sisters, actually, in that culture. They were, actually biological sisters. And also Bast, they're all related. I mean, not only in terms of the knowledge, but they're genetically related.
Interesting.
Yeah, powerful, really powerful, I think. So so that just shows, the lineage. And I don't think that Tantra is necessarily limited to the, what word do I have? The royalty type groups, but it was definitely not a practice for, that the common man utilized. And because the Romans and other authorities of that time frowned on those relationships, or though that perception of sexuality, there was a great deal of danger involved in talking about those practices, or practicing them openly, or even in hiding. Everything was underground. They didn't write, they barely wrote about it, and definitely did not speak about it, on pain of death, if they were discovered or found out. So one of the things I'm looking forward to is the discovery of some of these secret texts that, I'm hoping that with the beginning of this new century, that some of these texts are going to be discovered, and then we'll be able to learn more about them. And as it was, Catherine Clement channeled this information to Claire Hotzong, and then she wrote it up and published it. So, they didn't even have access to the sacred text, but because of their relationship, both of them are students of Saint Germain, and it's because of that connection with Saint Germain that they are knowledgeable and able to make this information available to us. And I'm just so grateful.
The other comment I really quickly want to make before somebody else can take the spotlight is how to connect with the breath. And I know in our spiritual practice, we do just today, we were doing the breathing in our Ascension practice, and how the breath seems to be connected in so many ways to this as well. Do you have any comments on?
Yeah, I had written that in my paper, and that startled me as well when I was, doing the research, and they were explaining the breath. I was saying, this is the same stuff we're doing in the transmission flame services. Who would have thought it? So, I mean, it's got to be, truly, there's, sacredness just woven into the whole fabric of Tantra and these sexual practices. It's just.
Thank you, Sherry.
Embodied.
Paula has something to say. Go.
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah. I must say that my mind is blown, Sherry. I've read portions, maybe half of Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, and for as many lifetimes and everything as I have blocked out apparently so much, because I do believe I was part of those mystery schools, but for some reason, I guess in this lifetime maybe, my quote Christian in Catholic indoctrination is so strong, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around the idea. I mean, it makes sense, but that Jesus, my whole idea of Christianity and what he was here to do was, and as a practitioner, thinking, how do we put this out in the world? What he was here to do. I thought he was all about becoming one with God, of realizing that what God does, we can all do, and that, but it wasn't so much about glorification of the flesh, which is what in my Catholic mind, or that Catholic background, sounds like. It sounds like not sex parties. I don't mean that, because I realize they were probably very sacred rituals, but that Jesus had a life with, really, is it 3 wives, or does this information go into any detail? Was Mary Magdalene his primary wife? And and I realized maybe this isn't important, but it just seems to me that, and maybe to some others, I don't know. It just kind of blows my mind, and I want to learn more. And I'm looking forward to reading your entire paper. Honestly, I've only got to read the first 3 paragraphs, so,
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So what is your take, Sherry? Were you taken aback by any of this? Was it I mean, you've had such a great background that I wasn't aware of in your counseling and in your research and your education. So has this been mind-blowing? When did you feel mind-blown about any of this, or did you?
Many points, I've been working with Jelena as we've been, trading sessions about people's aspects that are of us that are lost, that are coming home. And so when I found out that Mary Magdalene had aspects of herself that were incarnated around the same time as, she was walking the earth, and that that they all came together. So there's just so much to understand about unity consciousness, and just that everything is one. It just keeps coming back in different ways, that everything is one, and we keep trying to separate it. And it's
because I think I put that sex in a separate category.
Yeah.
And I think in organized religion we've done that.
Yeah.
That's something that, at least in traditional religions, isn't talked about,
Right.
And it's supposed to, quote, only be for the creation of children. Yeah. And, as far as a lot of the indoctrination I've known about. So is the focus of this kind of energy work, or this work that we're reading about, or you're teaching us about, is this about gratifying the physical body? Is it about, or is it, how is it connected with the spiritual and the divine?
Great question.
Or is that not a good question?
It's a great question.
No, you said a mouthful. I don't get from what I've read that gratifying the physical body is a primary focus, but it's a pleasant byproduct of the work, and that they used their relationships to feed the earth. That I spoke in the paper about all of us being connected genetically, and it's because they had all of these children, and the children went on to have children, and so the earth is seeded with the genetic imprint of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what the whole second book is about. It's about the seeding of the Christian dispensation, basically. Yeah. Very
Which book is that?
There's grandmother Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, and then the Magdalenes. Anna,
Yes.
Magdalenes. Yeah.
I need to get that.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
And
Well,
Thank you, Sherry.
Oh, you're welcome.
Carol, Carol, it's good to have you guys here. Just wanted to say welcome to people that just stepped in. It's good to have you here. Yes. So does anybody else have a comment or a question for Sherry? Don't be shy. We're only talking about sex and spirituality. I'm curious about the place that sex has in our ascension, in our spiritual evolution. And maybe it's not sex. Maybe that's not the right question. The Tantra has to do with our spiritual evolution, as we call it here, ascension.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm less certain about. I didn't see a lot of references to that in the reading that I did. So that's definitely an area of study.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if the soul weaving book, which I did read, may have some clues about that, because I guess part of the process of ascension is to try to bring back all of these pieces that have split off from themselves. And the soul weaving book talks about the experimentation that was done by the Atlanteans, and the Lemurians were kind of invited into it by the Atlanteans, and kind of as a curiosity seeking kind of thing. Oh, I wonder what would happen if we did this. They the Lemurians were highly advanced people, and they weren't really living in tangible physical bodies at that time the way we look at our bodies. And so when they agreed to participate in this experiment of what would happen if we separated the masculine from the feminine, and how would that affect life. And it turned out to be a horrible mistake, that a lot of suffering and pain ensued from that practice of splitting the masculine and the feminine. And so we are here now in this time trying to reunite these fragments and these pieces so that we can feel a sense of wholeness. And I gather that that is part of the ascension, and why we are here in this time, to try to unify these pieces that even up until this day are still split off from us, that maybe were split eons ago, and have been wandering out in the astral world trying to figure out, how do I get back? Where are my people? Where's myself, my high holy self? Where is it? How do I get back to it?
Alejandro, did you want to say something? And then we'll go to you,
Yes.
Sage.
Okay. Sherry, could you talk a little bit about the Kundalini awakening? I believe that's related with our process of ascension also, right? And the awakening of the Kundalini only achieved through sex, or is there another way to awaken the Kundalini?
I'm just suppositioning here that that's not really a strong area for me, but from what I understand and from the way I've seen it used, that sex is one way to raise the energies, but also through meditation and chanting. Those are also ways to raise the Kundalini energy. I don't really know or understand exactly why that is a central focus to Tantra, but it definitely is. There's, a lot more that I need to know, and, will continue to search for. So it's not easy with this being such a secret practice. I mean, there are a lot of practices that have survived to this century, but a lot of it is still secretive. So there's still a lot that we don't know. So that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to the discovery of some of these secret texts that, will reveal even more information. And I'm especially looking forward to hearing more from Claire and Catherine, because I'm sure that they have some more books on standby that are, probably in the works now, that will shed even more light on these topics.
I have something I want to add to that. May I, Sherry?
Oh, please.
I have noticed in my own evolution that orgasm, and I don't mean orgasm necessarily when you're having sex, because the times that I've experienced the most intense orgasms, the first time was I was in, we were at Mount Shasta. We're getting ready to meet the Galactic Council, and the next day. And I remember just going to bed with my usual prayer is, please prepare me for the next day. And I woke up in the morning, in the middle of the night, with this just like, and it wasn't anything that I've ever experienced actually in a sexual experience with my husband, but it was like waves and waves of energy going through my body, and it felt like an orgasm.
Mm.
And when I asked the council the next day, they said that I was being prepared for that event, and I actually went to another level of light within my body. And I know that has happened to me several. It seems like it comes in clusters when I feel like my body is shedding the old and coming into something new. And also remember, the Kundalini is right there at the base chakra where the
Yes.
this ascension flame blazes. So it makes so much sense that it would be a rising, because that's the direction of the ascension flame, is to rise.
Yes.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. So Carol, Sage, would you,
Yes, I want to share with everyone. It just dawned on me as you were speaking about what it's all about. You were talking about the seeding of the divine feminine and the unity consciousness through Jesus and the three Marys, and I just got this new book. I received it yesterday, and I haven't even had a chance to really look at it, but now it's dawned on me what it's all about. It came to me through a course of love. I received the emails, and they advertised this new book. It's called Marari, The Way of the Three Marys. And on the back, it says, space was created and allowed enough safety that, no, that's not it. Oh, this is what I wanted to read. In Marari, The Way of the Marys, Mary Perrone, who is the author, honors and gives expression to the fullness of the divine feminine way. And it's a dialogue on Mary of Nazareth's way of Mary.
Mm.
I'm really excited to read it now. Yeah. But apparently Mary Perrone, who is the author, channels the whole book.
Mm. Okay, well, I'm excited to hear what you learn from your reading.
Okay, I'll keep everyone posted.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say in comment to what you shared, Jennifer, is that last appendices that talks about the light conceptions, that there was no information about that. And so that was one of the practices that the Essenes and the Magdalenes kept particularly secret, but they do reference light conceptions, that was how their children were conceived.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know a lot about it, but I'm guessing that infusion of light that you experienced is probably as close to what that is like as we can understand at this time without more information.
you know, there's some information too in the first book of Telos about the union, that the Telosians, how they come in union, and it's very close to this. And you know, they are where we are going as being in human bodies, ascending in bodies. So I think it's really valuable information.
You know, I read both books of the Grandmother of Jesus, and I also read this one, and there's another one. It's called The Power of the Magdalene.
Yeah.
And it says the Essenes Children of the Light by Stuart Wilson and Joanna Prentice. It is very similar. I was very amazed. They talk about the light. What did you say? The light conception?
Yeah,
And
light
everything.
infused
It
conceptions.
was very confirming to read this book after reading especially I think the grandmother of Jesus, the first one, is very light compared to the second one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was nice, and I love reading about the scenes. I think it was a beautiful community.
I have a
Bless you,
question.
Carol.
I have a question. I've often wondered how uniting with your twin flame, and I'm thinking of when we read about Saint Germain and Lady Portia, and how when they finally united their two iron presences, if that has any connection to any of this that we're talking about. I like to think it does.
Yes,
I
I think so. I can't prove it,
want to
but
bring
I
that.
do. Absolutely.
Does anybody else have a question or comment? Julena, Mary, Carol, Cheryl, Maggie, anybody? Mary, I see your mouth going, but you're muted, honey.
I always knew through yoga that my understanding, what was the yoga that I did, that the Kundalini was a dance. I didn't realize that it was something more than that. And we used to do one of those dances. They showed you how to, hold the crystals and all that kind of stuff. So there's that kind of threw me for a loop a little bit, that it's part of a special ceremony, And I thank you for that information. It was wonderful, Sherry, and congratulations. Very nice work.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Selena, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I'm just having a coughing fit right now, so
Oh,
hopefully I can talk. I really was interested in the last part of your paper where you had the message from Alicia Brock, however you pronounce her last name, about the light conception. Because about 25 years ago, I read a series of books. I think there were like 3 of them, and the author told everybody that she did have this conception and that she did give birth through conception outside of sex with a male. And I was fascinated by that. And I can't find the name of the author. I can't find the books. And I usually don't give up good books like that. So I'll keep searching because it was so interesting. And she was ostracized from her spiritual community for saying that. So she had to go off and find another way of life for her and her child. So I thought that was really interesting, Sherry.
yeah.
Did she actually give birth the regular way, Julena, or?
Yeah, by the ocean. Yeah, she went to the ocean to give birth.
So the child didn't just appear.
No, she actually gave birth.
She actually went through the physical process. My goodness.
And she had all
Marian mamas, right? They gave birth in the ocean.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she actually had all the symptoms that Sherry described in this article by Alicia Brock, that, she had all the physical nauseousness and, the cramping and the horrible birth pains. She had all of it, and she gave birth to a child. And it was like an immaculate conception. I wish I could find those books.
You have to wonder too about the star mothers. How do they conceive us from human?
Yeah.
It's just very fascinating to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what they say is that when the soul that is coming is of a very, very high vibration, there's a need for a light conception, because the physical conception wouldn't allow this soul to come in and incarnate.
Yeah, and I think that's what Alicia was alluding to in her article, that, now in our present day, that there are high souls that are waiting to incarnate on this planet. And so the women who are bringing these souls in are having these really startling and atypical pregnancies like nobody has ever experienced on this planet. And they haven't really known what to do, or, there's no peer group that you have to share this experience with. So she started, documenting and writing about it and talking about it. And then people started writing to her and sharing with her the experiences that they had had. Fascinating stuff.
Beautiful. Amazing. Wow, we're coming out of such a puritanical, generations that I can see why there has been such a great suppression of, yeah, this as a spiritual practice.
And I would like to add to that, I think there's been a lot of secrecy around women's sexual pleasure. Somehow it's shameful, or I don't know what other words. We don't really talk about it that much. We don't maybe know much about how to have our own pleasures. And so, here we are at this juncture where there's an opening here for us to learn about that. And it's time.
It's time. It's time. No more shame, no more fear, no more doubt, no more negativity. It's all God. It's all good. And maybe, I believe that all of us were Magdalenes, and we're here now to kind of rebirth that information now on this plane of existence and consciousness.
Oh, I
That's
love
beautiful.
that.
You wonder if the fear of the power of women's sexuality led some of the Eastern cultures, or wherever it happens in the world, all over the world, where they sew women up, little girls, or remove all their sexual, stimulants, and just to kind of, let's pretend this isn't here. Let's make sure it's not here, because I think maybe the males were overwhelmed by the power of female sexuality, the strength of it.
Yeah, I think that's highly possible.
Yeah, many of the African tribes still do female circumcision.
Yeah, what they call female
Really
circumcision. Yeah.
Yeah. It's time for the light.
It is. Yes. No more torture and abuse of women on any level.
Amen.
Well, and I think it's women, it's where we're going to see it move, where we're going to bear witness in our lifetimes. We're already seeing young women and women of our wisdom coming forward now very strongly for women's liberation and freedom in all areas of their life, unlike anything. I mean, in the 60s, we had the bra burning, and it kind of went really extreme with, we're going to be men instead of women. We're going to be strong, aggressive. And now in the 21st century, we are coming into oneness with and encouraging men to do the same with the power of their unique sexuality. So the times are changing, and I'm glad to see that happening. It's messy, but I think it is happening, don't you?
Oh,
I do. I do.
Absolutely.
I loved your friend, Alejandra.
She was crying at my door and crying and crying. I had to go and pick her up.
Aw, that's what mamas do.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. All right. So, is everyone feeling pretty complete? Are you feeling
Thank
complete,
you.
Sherry?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for bringing this to our community. We'll see what happens with it now, it absolutely expanding into goodness, and glory. Yeah, thank you so much. And
Thank you for letting me
absolutely.
bring it.
Congratulations, Sherry. It was lovely as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Sherry.
Yeah.
You are.
Kudos to you.
And it's opening a door that I think we could explore some more, like
Hmm?
all of this feminine
Absolutely. Yes.
energy and this. It's amazing.
It is. It is.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I'm excited for what the future holds.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Me too.
We have amazing bodies, ladies. We have
We
amazing.
do.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So, Marjorie, would you bless us with a benediction here, please, as we go?
Okay. Oh, so how grateful I am for this gathering of the beloved sisters to celebrate Sherry's beautiful project and all of the beautiful information we've gathered together. And we'll take with us, and in celebration of her beautiful project at the end of her time as a practitioner in training. So I just bless this time together. I bless everyone here and all the information that we've heard, reminding us that from each of us, we are the one of us. This is one beautiful expression of the divine that we've heard today and that we are all part of. And so I just bless each of us on our way, knowing that this is divinely orchestrated, and I allow it to be. And so it is. Beloved I am, beloved I am, beloved I am.
Beloved I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.